Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wigan Fan TV. Please excuse the chaos that has already started by, I don't know who's in the background of David Bailey's camera. Mark's seen somebody. Ignore Matt's eyes for the time being and his general demeanour, and the fact that Stu's head and chin, is just resting on the text at the bottom. He hasn't got a clue about that. Good evening, everybody, especially David. Welcome back. It's nice to see you back on our screens.
Thank you.
Are you on a delay? Or do you think you're...
No, yeah.
Okay, you're almost too quick. It's like you're in fast forward. See, you're interrupting me.
Nice.
Me and Matt were just having a quick discussion, and Stu and David then, just about... It's just been a really quiet week this week, hasn't it, in Rugby League? So, we don't really know what to talk about. Looking at Matt's eyes, it's just a normal week for Matt. But before we go on to, I guess a counselling session really for Matt, and we address the big issue, which is Romain Navarrete leaving Wigan. I think it's only fair that we talk about the whole issue, which Wigan have probably managed to capitalise on over the past couple of days in terms of the Pride Day that Wigan are running against Catalan. I'm conscious that this topic, it's a topic that I never thought we'd end up discussing on here. I think it's very important to discuss, and I think we've got to get it right. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. Yeah. But I'm going to start. When you want to get things really right, there's only one person to start with. Matt?
Sorry, I was miles away then. I was thinking about just sad thoughts. What were you asking me?
Just your thoughts on...
Are you asking about Navarrete?
No, not yet.
Folau Pride.
Pride. He's obviously got no pride. He's gone to Wakefield.
Is that it?
What were you asking?
Stu, your thoughts on the whole issue that's gone on in terms of Israel... Folau, how are we saying his name? I can never get it right. Returning to Super League, Catalans, but then I think more importantly, Wigan's instant capitalisation on that. Your thoughts, Stu?
Well, we all know how a bad boy he is and what he's done, but at the end of the day, that could have help us because it will major put bums on seats. Because to me, it's a great publicity stunt for what the club's done. Also, yeah, as we know, yes. But let's just say, great what we've done. Everybody's equal, as we say. But I like the look of these. I want to say the look of these socks that the players are going to wear. These rainbow socks. Me, for one, I'm going to buy a pair and put them on. And why not? Let's do a thing for oddballs. Let's sing it all together. Another charity thing. Why not? You know what I mean? Upwards and upwards. Bring it on.
Mark, I see you've had a few views shared on Twitter. It's such one, like I said, it's an issue that I never thought we would be discussing on here. It's a very serious issue. It's very easy to get sidetracked by it. My personal view is that we should be focusing on the fact that there is a Pride Day at Wigan. I think Wigan have probably gone about it the best way that you can do in this situation. It's kind of acknowledging that there's an elephant in the room, but trying to support and get something good out of it in terms of LGBT charities will benefit from it. There'll be greater awareness on the day because of that. But Mark, your thoughts? Because it's not an easy subject at the minute.
No, and it's probably a subject that I'm still balancing out all the views on, and we've had loads in for the next week's Super League pod to talk about this already. And first of all, I would say Israel Folau's personal views, his religious beliefs, etc., do not align at all with my own. I'm sure there's people who support our club, who support our sport, who maybe align with his views, but I find them utterly distasteful and don't align with my own views at all. I think there's a bigger issue for the sport, and we'll see lots of people accusing our club of being hypocritical because we have players like Zach Hardacre playing for our club, and also people who will accuse our club of trying to get PR out of this, a publicity stunt, etc. But I, like you, Sean, would focus on the positive that we've done a reaction here to try and make it a positive story, even if it's a positive story that shines positivity on our club, however way. But there's actually a lot of reporting of this story has not been about Folau signing for Catalans. It's been about the sports reaction, the fans' reaction, Wigan's reaction within that to Folau signing for Catalans. And the sport's got to get a lot of things right about its policy on ethics and those sorts of things. But our club is inclusive. This isn't just an aggravation thing that they've thrown out. Yes, they've timed it how they've timed it to maximise the exposure of it, to put Wigan in a good light, but also shine a light on pride, on inclusivity. We have same-sex relationship players at our club playing in our club sides, captaining one of our club sides, and if our club didn't take a positive and firm stance to back up those people within our fan base, within our playing staff or coaching, whatever, within our staff within the club, within our base of people within the club, then that would be the wrong thing to do. So they've done the right thing, I think. There's
a couple of points that I want to pick up on there before I move on to you, David, if that's all right. One is the Zach Hardacre issue. I think that's a really poor and weak argument. I think Aaron Bower, the journalist, put it fantastically before when he said that 1, Zach Hardacre apologised, 2, he served a suspension, 3, he paid a fine, and 4, he actually spent some time in the LGBT community, coaching, I think it's the Manchester Canal Siders in there, and actually integrating himself within the community.
Zach didn't do what he did because he was homophobe. He did it because he was a bit of a dickhead around that time, weren't he, clearly? And he's resolved those issues.
And I think you've made a point that I never even thought about, was the women's team. And there's a partnership there which everybody's well aware of, and I think is very open, which I must admit I completely forgot about. You look at the Saints team, Gemma Walsh has moved from Wigan to go and play with her wife. I mean, that's a fantastic story, which is quite unique in our sport anyway. There's a few comments on here which just about Wigan's involvement with Israel Folau as well, in terms of, Lenigan said they would have contemplated signing him potentially. I think that probably wasn't great from Ian Lenigan. I think he was honest at least about it, but I think there's a little bit of misunderstanding there. I don't think Ian Lenigan said they were speaking to him to sign him. I certainly don't think that's the case, and that's in the comments there. But yeah,
I think it was a little bit of we had to do something to sort of backtrack a step to try and smooth relationships with the Catalan Dragons, to make this not an aggravation thing against the Catalans that we did, more a statement of intent and what we care about as a team, but try and smooth over some of those cracks too.
Yeah,
it'd be terrible if we fell out with another club.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got some Warrington stuff to talk about later.
David, your thoughts on that? As I put Rob's comment on screen, we know Rob's obviously a Cas fan, and this is sort of replicated across the board, I think, is the plaudits that Wigan are receiving from other fans and other clubs. Johnny Vegas today as well, similar. So, David, your thoughts on this situation?
Same really. I think we're going to, whoever decided at the time to release the statements about the Pride game deserves a big pat on the back, because it's got Wigan publicity not just across Super League but across all boundaries. You look at the Welsh referee, Nigel Owens coming down and saying, can you get me a crash course in refereeing? And Ian Lenigan's son inviting him to the game as a guest. You look at Dave Lewis at Leeds, Harry Potter actor amongst other, films and TV dramas, tweeting out saying that he can't believe that he's retweeting Wigan, but fair play. And it's just eclipsed quite a lot, even in Australia. I think Bilko, obviously, who does the radio commentary, tweeted something today, and he'd seen a news report from Australia where the news anchor said they had to stifle a laugh when they saw Wigan's response to the Folau signing. So I think it just transcends not just rugby league. It's got the headlines across sport, across the globe. It was a perfectly weighted response to it. So I don't think we'll upset Bernard Gouache and his crew, but
end up in the Minster.
Yeah, exactly. It's a difficult one because so many clubs. I saw Saints release a statement earlier, sort of not really saying a lot, but basically saying that they support the LGBT community as well. So I don't think Wigan could have played it any better. And yeah, as for Folau, it's a massive risk by the RFL to allow him to sign for Catalan's a massive risk.
There's so many underlying issues with it as well, isn't there? Super League saying one thing but being governed in terms of the registration by RFL. Stu, I'm calling your mum out on this, I'm afraid, saying about Wigan talking to Folau. Just to sort of, because I really want to defend this because I do feel quite strongly about it. To quote Ian Lenigan, sort of direct quote, he said, "We made no approaches. We had filled our salary cap, and that's the reality." So I think just to sort of quash any sort of suggestions that Wigan were in talks with him, certainly, he's a player that would have crossed the mind as much as any player would potentially cross the mind, but they certainly weren't in talks with him. Matt, getting over your sort of Romain Navarrete thing for a minute, I'm intrigued to hear from you because your dad's a vicar, you teach or taught religious studies. This feels like I'm intrigued by your take on it because it's, like I said at the start, this isn't easy.
It's not, and from a religious point of view, there are lots of different interpretations of Christian teachings. I think Israel Folau has decided to choose a crap one personally, and one that I disagree with very, very strongly. I don't consider myself a Christian. I don't have any beliefs, but I do think one of the strengths of the Christian community, when it's playing to its strengths, is its love for each other, its love for kind of mankind and womankind, and everything in between. I mean, I'm a heterosexual cisgender man, but I feel what's happened is something potentially very negative, and one club, it happens to be Wigan, has done something positive, and we focus on the positive. And if a pride game comes out of this every single season from now on, and it becomes a regular fixture, then isn't that brilliant? And I'm with you. Let's focus on the positive and try not to give too much airtime to the negative and to the views of one individual that do not chime with, the majority of people, I'd say, because they're wrong.
Oh, and I think that's brilliantly put, and I think that's something that we've got to be conscious of and be really proud that, yes, Wigan were the first club there. Yes, it's a publicity stunt, it's marketing fantastic, because all that means is there's more money into the club, but more importantly, that awareness gets out there as well. I think, Mark, the point that you've made about the publicity about all of this was also included the fact that Wigan announced that at the same time. When you look at the BBC website, there's the announcement of the signing, but Wigan did this at the same time. So there's a fantastic counterbalance, I think, to the whole announcement of it. So I'm really, really proud that Wigan are the club that have done that. And hopefully Sir Ian McKellen takes my offer of a date to go and watch Wigan and Catalans, and for him to return to Wigan to watch that. Although for some reason he's ignoring my tweet at the moment. I think he's just playing difficult. But I'm also really proud of the way that we've just dealt with that as well. I think that just shows the integrity of rugby league and the comments on here as well. So I think as a sport we can be really proud, and I think we can embrace the signing of Folau and just off Folau or however you say it. I'm sure he might get offended at that. And just deal with it and just get on with it.
I'm going to be calling him the homophobic outside back, so I don't know.
The subjects this week don't get any easier, I'm afraid. For one person in particular, Matt, Romain Navarrete. Wigan voted Romain to leave, and he's gone to Wakefield. I'll give you a few minutes to compose yourself, Matt. But Stu, you look delighted.
Appreciate that.
There's always negatives and pluses in life, right? Now, this is where I see it, right? Okay, last year, as I said last week about him, when he needed to stand in, he done his bit, right? But new ventures, new. Good luck to the man. We'll wish him luck. You know what I mean? But on the plus note,
Don't know what you mean.
Liam Byrne, Plus, honest to God, brilliant, 4 year in the bag. You know what I mean? There's always like highs with lows, but there you go. We've all got to move on. We'll pass this new and that. Wish the guy good luck. There you go, Sean.
Yeah, well summed up as well. And mention of Liam Byrne signing that contract, which feels like a real a real shot in the arm for Wigan as well, just before the season. Mark, your thoughts on Navarrete and the fact that he's gone out on a season-long loan rather than a permanent deal. Is there anything in that as well? Do you think he's got an opportunity to prove himself to Wigan again? Second loan spell. He obviously went back to Catalans as well.
I just think that's probably the nuances of where squads were at or where contracts needed to be filed or what have you. I'd be surprised if he played for us again, but the biggest compliment I can ever pay to Romain Navarrete is that he came back and made himself a first-team Wigan player who played quite a lot of games over 2 seasons. One of those seasons he played in a grand final, and I never thought he had it. He clearly didn't have it when he first was with us, and the club saw that and he saw that, and they gave him the opportunity to go and sort of comfort himself back in France. But he stood up to the challenge and came back. You've got to respect someone for that. You really have. So I'll always respect Romain Navarrete for that. Although I will always remember that every time I started to think this guy can do it, he'd pull an absolute shocker out of the back the next week. His best ever game for Wigan, I think, was his second to last game for Wigan against Catalans last year. And then the next week, was it Cast the last week of the season? He was absolutely tripe, and it just felt like, oh, come on, Romain, you were so close to winning us over, and then you didn't quite finish the job off.
David, your thoughts on Romain Navarrete? I think that's the fact that Mark's highlighted that should be perhaps Navarrete's lasting legacy. The fact that he came back from being a bang average player, went over to Catalans, could have stayed in his home country, could have stayed at a club that he knew in terms of Catalans, came back and became, along with Morgan Escaré, the first 2 French players to play and win in a grand final. David, will you be sad to see him play for Wakefield?
Well, it'll stop Matt predicting a Navarrete drop goal every week.
It won't. It really won't.
It's sad to see him go because they both came over with so much potential, Escaré and Navarrete, and I don't know whether at the time we signed him, obviously they share the same age, I don't know whether at the time we signed him as a sweetener to get Escaré over, to be honest, I'm not sure, but
no.
It's a sweetener to get Matt to get on the train.
It just never hit the heights, as Mark said. He never really fulfilled his potential. He came over a similar frame to Ben Flower and just never quite made it, which is sad, but I don't think it was
a bit nicer frame, some would say.
Of course, Matt.
The legs in particular.
Spencer's put on, he might kill it at Wakefield and come back. Never say never again, Matt. Do you like that?
I'm getting Matt a t-shirt with that
on. Matt, right, there's a couple of questions for you, Matt. How on earth did Romain Navarrete become your favourite player? I can't remember this. And 2, have you bought a Wakefield shirt yet?
It was exactly what Mark said earlier. It was that whole business of how impressed I was with him, going back and kind of putting himself together, and then coming back to Wigan where none of us really expected him to. And I just had so much respect for him because of that. That was what it was.
And any sort of, it's a little bit strange that he moves to Wakefield in the week that your court case settled about you being in his back garden. So there's a little bit strange.
A simple misunderstanding about boundaries.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't respect his.
Yeah, absolutely. We always talk about Escaré, or try to avoid about Escaré. Is there something in that? Does anybody think with Escaré being at Wakefield last year and now Navarrete there, do we expect Escaré to maybe follow him? Anybody? Just a random thought.
I really enjoy that when you look through the comments or look through posts on mostly Facebook about Wigan, if you look 2 years ago, every single thread had every other comment. Why aren't we playing Navarrete? Why aren't we playing Escaré? Sorry, why is Escaré not in the team? Why is Tompkins playing? Why is so and so playing? Why is he not doing this? Where's Escaré? And then you looked when the squad came out this year, and it's like, why is Escaré still with us? What's Escaré still doing in the squad?
You're not trying to suggest that those Wigan fans may be fickle, are you?
We don't know what we want.
So the caveat to that, as Stu mentioned, is Liam Byrne signing a 4-year deal, and I think that it kind of feels like there's some symmetry between the two, one going and the other one signing the contract. David, do you think Liam Byrne is now Navarrette's replacement in terms of the squad, and how good do you think he can become over the next few years?
Yeah, he's part of the trio, really, isn't he? Byrne, breakthrough season last year with Partington and Smithies. And I think Phil Wilkinson did his questions for this week about which players you were most looking forward to seeing this season for the Wigan Post. And for me, it's those three, seeing how they thrive this season.
Spoiler alert there if you're buying the Observer.
Obviously, we've got this season.
Tease, not a spoiler.
Yeah, exactly.
Tease.
People be
running down to the
our opinions. And you've got George Burgess there, who I'm still on the fence about, if I'm honest. But he definitely adds bulk and experience to the pack. So the potential's huge for the season. But yeah, I think Liam Byrne signing is a great signing. He's a big unit, and he's definitely got that mongrel about him, the same way as Smithies and Partington have. They just don't care about reputations. Be interested to see them come up against Israel.
I think somebody put the comment in before, there's not a chance that Folau was going to play at Wigan. Not a chance. And I think they're probably right as well. Matt, your thoughts on Liam Byrne signing a new contract and tying another one, tying talent down for the long term?
I've been very impressed with Liam Byrne, actually, and I tell you what, at the friendly game against Leeds, I looked at him and thought, he has really grown. He's massive now. Yeah, and then I realised what it was. I was 4 rows closer to the pit than I normally sit. But aside from that, that's good news, isn't it? We've got another good young one tied down, not literally, but tied up in a contract. And there's no bad side to that.
You drew us all in there. We're all nodding, agreeing, going, "Yeah, he's got bigger. Yeah, no, he has got bigger." Yeah, make us look like right.
You all fell for my trap.
He get bigger. He's huge.
He is huge, and there's a which I think takes us on nicely to the Lee friendly last week, where we saw a glimpse again into Wigan's future, and I don't think. I mean, we probably have, and I'll probably be proved wrong. I think this sort of cohort of young players that are just on the fringe, this is going to be one of the most exciting sort of under-19 reserved sides that I think we've had for a long, long time, because there's names that were just popping up at Lee where I'd heard of, but I'd never really seen play, and I was looking at them going, like, I think it was Roden, for example, looks like an absolute beast, and it was just these players who look like they're not that far away, and the development of the reserve side this year may just prove absolutely crucial for Wigan and their development. Stu, your thoughts on another pre-season defeat, if you want to look at it like that, or another game along development in terms of the reserves against Lee?
Yeah, it was a defeat, but how can I put it? Young'un's done good again. You know what I mean? As you say, the scores don't matter, But as you say, really, really pleased with our young'uns. Conveyor belt looking good. Well, old conveyor belt. There you go. There's the product. Bring it on. It's fantastic. What more can you say? The kids done good. We're in good shape. So there you go.
There's a few comments here, Mark, about Havard. 2 in a row about Havard could be the one. He looks really promising. Joe Shorrocks, I think, really stood out against Lee. What's that, Matt?
Bulgaria.
Yeah, there we go.
Did Matthew Melling bring him over?
Havard's Kilner, isn't there?
Yeah.
We talk about the 3 that we've already got in the first team. These next 2 are equally as big, equally as impressive, and so that's the exciting thing for me about the under-19s, because it felt like years since we brought through a really solid forward who could play in our first team. Certainly in the middles anyway. And now there's loads, which is fantastic.
David, your thoughts on what seems to be the new tactic for 2020 of tackling before the ball is in the atmosphere, which Joe Burgess seemed to sort of give us a glimpse. How excited are you looking forward to seeing that tomorrow night? Is it going to be a tactic that we use on Gelling or Charnley?
Well, Joe Burgess alone to himself, isn't he? You just got to look at it, and he's just thinking that far ahead that he, like you said, he's getting there before the ball's even arrived. He's like a bit of a mind reader, so he knows what's going to happen, stops it before they even get a chance to pass it. So,
well, I've heard he beat Evan French in the sprints, so obviously he's just too fast for the ball.
Rumour has it, even as we speak right now, he's legging it down to Perpignan to tackle Israel Folau.
Maybe they're blaming. Yeah, maybe it might be the difference between the Rhino ball and the Steedham ball. Maybe when it's up in the height in Lee, it doesn't come down, and that is the dog barking. By the way, it wouldn't be a good show without the dog barking. I don't think, and getting some involvement. Throw me way off here, Matt.
Did you think of the Lee friendly show?
Me, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. The fact that I really liked the fact that we were looking at the reserve team and the future of the club. But I'm going to turn my microphone off here. Matt, anyone else concerned about the first team only having one pre-season game? Mickey asks the Leeds game. Matt, are you concerned about that?
No. If we were starting with an away game, I'd probably be more concerned about it. But it's a home game, and I think we'll be fairly comfortable gelling as things are. I hope so. I said gelling, not gelling, obviously.
Stu, your thoughts on that? Bear in mind, we start the season tomorrow. Not had many minutes in the first team players, but do you think they can just click?
Well, as you say, it's pre-season friendlies. Don't really matter. First game in. If we lost it, we do. If we win it, okay, it's only first game. You know what I mean? It'd be nice to win. Right, I'll say that without talking in Cumbrian. If we get a win tomorrow night, it'd be nice. If we don't, it's only the first game. I'm not bothered. There you go. But it would be nice, wouldn't it? Points next prize. There you go.
Looking at that, Mark, are you concerned about the fact of our halfbacks? So Hastings and Luluai have only had those few minutes. I'm not too concerned about the rest of the squad. I think that we build it up, but I'm always a little bit concerned when there's a new halfback combination, and then a little bit more concerned when there's a completely, 3 out of 5 in the spine are pretty much new if French players at fullback tomorrow, which I expect him to do.
I'm not hugely worried. Warrington have only played one pre-season game, so they've only played one. Well, the reserves played against Swinton, didn't they, on Saturday as well, 2 nights after Mike Cooper's testimonial. So, what if we lose because we've only played one? Would they win because they've only played one? So it's too much read into it. The season's too long, so you can't have more pre-season games, basically. And halfbacks, combinations, slight worry, but we've got class, haven't we, and speed, so that should overcome those initial worries for me.
David, your thoughts on that? Pre-season too short, season too long? Does it matter?
No, I think historically, looking back, might be making this up, might not be a fact at all, but I always think we can do better.
Sean likes those ones.
Yeah, I think we can always do better when they do poorly in pre-season. Historically, we've always seemed to, if you get on a roll in pre-season, it goes to pot when the season starts. Tomorrow, obviously, Warrington are without the McVitie-sponsored Gareth Widdop, so I think my concern is not around halfbacks. Maybe long term it's about halfbacks and what the combination should be, but I think for me it's the centres that's in fullback area tomorrow. With a lot of changes, and it's not a settled side at all. So for me, the outside backs is the concern for me tomorrow.
Josie puts on the comment there, playing Zach at centre is a dangerous move in my opinion. Bearing in mind that Zach had everybody had a pretty average British Lions tour. He had 40-50 minutes at centre against Leeds. He's played there a lot before, but is there too much chopping and changing? Are you concerned about any element of the squad for tomorrow? Matt.
Oh, me?
Matt.
Yes.
Again, I've explained the
That's
rules.
right.
I've explained the technique. There's logic behind it. I say your name, I ask a question. If I've got to say your name again, I will do. But then there's an awkward silence, and it just makes everybody uncomfortable. Matt.
But thank you for clearing the rules up, because obviously I was having difficulty. Sean, I'm not too worried. No, I thought I'd already answered this question, to be honest.
All right.
I didn't
Okay.
realise it was like tennis.
Sorry.
Back at me.
Somebody's obviously mourning.
My only concern is what we're going to do without Navarrete. That's
Yeah.
You walked into that one.
Hey, I tell you what, he didn't have any pre-season games, so he's really going to be bugged at Wakefield.
Okay, right. Let's go a little bit through the squad then, in terms of how do we expect Wigan to line up tomorrow, Stu? Put on Jose's comment there of centre. Are we going Hardacre? And let's go through the team. Let's start with fullback. Going around in a circle. I'll say your name first. You tell me who's going to go fullback. The clue as to when it's your turn will be your name. Stu, who do you think will play at fullback tomorrow?
French.
Mark.
French.
David.
Navarrete.
Matt. You.
French.
Right, so then that leaves.
This is like Eurovision now, isn't it?
What? Because we're mentioning so many French and Navarettes, or because of the delay, or because of the poor quality. Right. So in terms of centres, then are we going Hardacre and Bibby, or Hardacre and Hankinson? Stu.
Hardacre and Bibby.
Mark.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
David.
Same.
Matt.
Hardacre, Bibby.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going through the whole team. This is just going to take forever, isn't it?
Right. So we know who the wingers are going to be because of the squad. We pretty much sure, aren't we? Manfredi's not, unless they put French on the wing, where that'd be strange after him not training there all off season. We know who the halves are going to be. So the interesting position for me is the sort of extra bench forward. 'Cause, okay, we know Flower Eye, so we know O'Loughlin and Smithies will be your two loose forwards. We know that Club's going to be one of your props. We know that Powell's going to play. Where are you sat with, like, there's Bullock, there's
Byrne.
Clark, there's obviously Burgess if
Clark's
he's
not
fit.
in the squad, Mark.
Is going to be
Clark's not in
playing.
the squad.
Sorry?
Clark's
not in the squad. Right, so there's Bullock, there's Havard, there's Burke, there's Partington, and there's Greenwood. Only 3 of those 5 can be in the squad. So who are you having on your bench alongside Smithies / O'Loughlin?
I think there's only one player that's played themselves onto that bench position. I think that's Bullock. I think he ran hard against Lee. I think he knew that he had that bench spot to play for. I don't say Mitch Clark's not in the squad. I don't think Mitch Clark has done enough to even be considered anywhere near that team at the minute. I don't think he's there fitting. He did, what did he do? Full 40 at Lee. And he's obviously
he did longest minutes I've ever seen him at Lee, but
yeah, and maybe he now needs 2 weeks to recover. But at the minute, he doesn't look ready to play for Wigan. Havard, I think, would be a close, probably second in there. Harry Smith is in the squad, but he's not gonna be involved. I think it's just a sort of a token gesture, him being on the bench. And then I think Greenwood misses out because I don't think Greenwood has a position in that team that he can nail down at the minute. His position was Farrell's position. He's not replacing Farrell. I don't think he's proven himself on the right. We had that strange thing when he played for England a couple of years ago where he played at prop, and he's not big enough for that. And I think this is make or break first 6 months of the season, I think, for Joe Greenwood in terms of his future at Wigan. But yeah, Joe Bullock for me is the man that gets on that bench because he played like he needed to get back in that squad. And I'm not saying nobody else did, but I think he proved himself. Matt, anything to add to that?
No, I've got nothing to add to that.
Wonderful, thank you. David, are you going to go along the same lines? Who would you like to see on the bench, sort of getting on to Mark's question?
Yeah, I think Bullock, Partington obviously has got to be in there as well. Just like Rich Vane, like you said, Clark's not done nearly enough. Greenwood, yeah, another one where he's not quite fulfilled that potential, and like you said, he can't really force his way past Farrell.
There's a big salary there, you would assume, as well, sitting with Greenwood. So that's a big salary missing out, and you just got to wonder how long. Matt, what are you doing? What is that look?
Has it
frozen?
Has he frozen? No, he's moving. I can see a hair flicker, I think.
I can't see him moving.
Let's just continue and see if he moves. That's really, really, really disturbing. Okay, maybe he has frozen. Stu, your thoughts on that? Joe Greenwood's potential future as Mark just shakes his head at the chaos?
Yeah, it's a big lump in it on the old cap, as you would say. It's a pity, because when he first couple of games in, he was on his own and on tackle and defence. But I agree with the rest of yours. Joe, the jockey Bullock, done good. You know what I mean? We're state of mind with forwards at the minute. Also with back. So yeah, we were, as you say, they want to get in there. They've got to earn that place to keep it. Got to keep it going. So yeah, brilliant. It's all about earn your place.
How do we see this game going tomorrow then? A Wigan win, a Warrington. The depth in that Warrington squad at the moment, I don't think is there.
Whatever.
Say that again, Mark.
Are we going to talk about the beef? Between the
missed press conference
stuff. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything.
Basically the whole Anthony Gelling thing. Because
I agree.
Well, just because I want to read the quote that was in the papers this week from Anthony Gelling about the interest with Wigan, which said, there was a discussion about going back to Wigan, but nothing more than that. But it's a different setup there now. Sean Wayne has gone, and it was a different vibe I got from them. That sounds to me like he asked us if he could come back, and we were like, well, we'll wait and see. And then we decided on someone else rather than the Warrington narrative.
David, your thoughts on that? On the Gelling, it's an interesting one. I can't see Wigan saying that if Wigan did pursue Gelling, I don't think Wigan are that ashamed to say, we went for him, but he chose elsewhere. I don't think there would be any disgrace in losing a player to Warrington. We've lost players against other clubs before, so yeah, I agree with Mark in that respect. It didn't seem to me like there might have been a conversation, but it didn't sound to me like Wigan wanted him and he decided to up six and go to Warrington instead. So yeah, a bit of beef. Well, there always is between Wigan and Warrington, isn't there? It wouldn't be Wigan and Warrington without it.
I think there's a bit more in that quote that Mark said about the culture and the setup at Wigan has changed, and I think that setup is, yes, we don't sign average players that once played for Wigan, because let's be honest, apart from Anthony Gelling going to score a hat-trick tomorrow and beating us, he was an alright player. Let's not sort of build him up to being the messiah that he potentially was painted to be at times. He was the self-professed man of the people, but he was an alright centre. He was average in a different way to what we normally talk about average, wasn't he?
He was average because he averaged out to the middle, but he was absolutely outstanding, and then he was absolutely miserable, and so it ended up average.
The thing that always annoyed me about Anthony Gelling, and even in that game where he scored a hat-trick against Saints, still annoyed me as he was running off the field for the intercept try, is his defence and the way that he just rushes out, and he's just bloody liability at the best of times, and I'm glad that he's not Wigan's liability anymore as far as I'm concerned. And like I say, I've just set myself up for him scoring the winning try tomorrow. I don't care, but I think Wigan are in a better place, and I don't think they're in the same mindset in terms of signing those players just because they went off. I think a George Williams, a John Bateman, a Ryan Sutton, if they were available, yes, we would sign them. But just because you played for Wigan once now, I don't think automatically qualifies you that we have to sign you on a better contract on your return. Anybody want to add anything to that, or am I just right?
Yeah.
Thanks.
He left in a bit of acrimonious circumstances as well, didn't he? Obviously he'd had his girlfriend in New Zealand at that was in an accident, but then he claimed homesickness, and then 12 months down the line when it didn't work out for New Zealand Warriors, he was back with witness, so it just kind of didn't wash.
Yeah. Although I do like his antics and enjoyed what he gave. So I'm not down on the guy or anything, but I don't think we did try to sign him. So,
no, neither do I. As I think Matt tries to log himself back in on Skype. We'll try and bring him in a second. So, how are we? How is this game going to pan out in terms of Wigan versus Warrington? It feels a little bit strange for me in terms of the start of the season. There's no Widdop, there's no Hughes. The Warrington side seems a little bit depleted when I look at the squad. It doesn't worry me as much as I think a full strength Warrington side partway through the season would do. The fact that we're at home, first game of the season, I think plays well for us a little bit. Stu, how do you see tomorrow going?
We've got a really good chance. I mean, let's be fair. As we just mentioned, our old compatriot, Mr. Gelling, that's what used to lose our tight games with his coming in for that daft intercept. Always the ball over the top, trying to get the intercept. Yeah, when he did it, he was a man of the people. But when he done it, he was the clown, wasn't he? You know what I mean? And I think if Mr. Lamb doesn't pinpoint that area with a certain Joseph Charnley tomorrow night, well, he'd be full, wouldn't he? You know what I mean? Because that, to me, that's
is Joseph Charnley Josh Charnley's brother?
New name for him. That's his Sunday name, eh? But no, on a serious note, to me, that's what they lost us some big games, tight games, them two when they were at Wigan. Hence the George Williams little chip through. You know what I mean? When Mr. Davis scored, it was up. He seen it, bang. Well, to me, you can't do that in a cup final. And to me, that when he was with us, that's what lost games, tight games. Hence, I don't know if they're both playing together on the wing and the centre partnership, but if they are,
opposite sides,
Mr. Lamb would, but if whatever Sean, just pepper them, absolute pepper.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm glad you called out Josh Charnley as well. Because that's anyway. That's for
anyone else we want to fire up?
Who else? Jack Hughes isn't playing, so we can't have a go at him.
What about Kabula? Is he in the thing or not?
No, Kabula's not in the squad. I guess Chris Hill. He's never good enough for Wigan. Who else? Yeah, Ratchford. Yeah, not good enough for Wigan. Blake Austin, they've got a winger playing at standoff. I mean, what's all that about? An international winger playing at standoff. What are they doing that for? Just Price has lost it.
Creativity coming from the winger now.
I mean, I don't understand why they would do that. He's an international winger, and you're putting him in. Anyway, Price has lost the plot. David, your thoughts on tomorrow? How does the game go?
It's too early.
As I bring Matt back, I think. Yes, he's away.
He's with us. He's not scary. It's a 50-50 call. You don't know how they're going to be on game one. Like you said, I'd rather play Warrington when it's so rusty rather than later on in the season when they've got the form and they've got the rhythms and they've got the combinations working. Playing at home is obviously a big advantage, as we said. So I think we'll sneak it, but you can't read too much into it. But there'll be a lot of pressure on Warrington, I think, bearing in mind who they've got next week as well. They really won't be looking to get off to a bad start, Warrington. So, yeah, Wigan slight winners.
Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, I've got Wigan by 10. I think if we can contain Darryl Clark, and if Sam Powell can kind of perform in the way that we saw in the Knights game, we saw flashes of in that first half an hour or so against Leeds, and that sort of curve, I think he could win that battle, and that'd be a big step up for him because Clark's fantastic. But outside of that, I think we've got him beat. So I'm going Wigan by 10. I think we'll win by a nice margin in the end.
Stu, your mum's tipping Warrington by 20.
Oh, she would, wouldn't she? You know what I mean? She would, wouldn't she?
Yeah, she's not happy. She's not happy tonight. I don't know what you've done. She's not happy.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Matt, she's a mother under the day. One of the other.
Matt, you I mean, there's so much there that we could ask, but I think digging and delving in there could lead to dangerous places. Matt, you were frozen on our screen for about 5 minutes in a really sinister look, and we actually thought you were holding and sort of really owning the look that you had. It suited you well.
I thought you'd kick me off.
No.
It's been quick enough.
It was discussed. How do you see tomorrow going? Wigan versus Warrington, first game of the season. Navarrete gone. Half-back partnerships. We talk about Hardacre, who talks about Pride. Ian McKellen playing at half-back. Blake Austin, who's a winger, playing at... What else have we spoken about while he's been away? Lead battering us. Everybody's only had 1 minute in pre-season. Sam Burgess has turned up at Robin Park tonight to take his brother away. So what happens tomorrow, Matt?
What happens tomorrow? Well, I'm hoping that we're going to win. But if they don't, I'm not too worried. I think that the fact that Warrington have got the Hoover sponsorship sums it up perfectly, because I'll be going on about how great they are, and then I'll stick on up perfectly. But tomorrow, I think we will beat them by about 6 to 8 points.
Okay, let's go around, and so 6 to 8 points. Mark, what did you say?
Wigan by 10.
David?
Yeah, Wigan by 8.
Stu?
Wigan by 7.
7. Who's getting the drop goal?
Sorry, Sean.
Who's getting the drop goal?
Oh, Bevan French.
Bevan French with a drop goal. Interesting. I've gone Wigan 18, Warrington 6. I think early season, it's cold, not many tries, but I just don't see. I just don't see the quality in Warrington's side yet. I think missing Widdop is a massive thing. I think missing Jack Hughes is actually a big thing as well. I think Josie just asked where is he. I think they announced today that he's had a hernia operation, so he's out for a while. So yeah, I think it'll be a good start to Wigan, but I think a good start to the season for Wigan. I think home advantage does play a big part early on in the season as well. So would anybody like to discuss anything else as Mark gets ready to say something?
Fan Park inside Robin Park, making the running track into a bar, which is the indoor running track, which is a good touch, and it's open before and after the game as well, which is new.
Yeah, which is a really nice touch. My only sort of observation of that would be the choice of describing Andy Gregory as the host. Is Andy Gregory hosting in the...
That's going to be one of them pubs that never does any business because the landlord drinks it dry.
It just felt... I just feel like it's a perfect sort of Wigan moment, isn't it? Yeah, let's announce the Pride game. Let's really sort of capitalise on that. Let's put Andy Gregory in charge of an event in a pub. There's something doesn't work.
He's a very good character, good personality at getting people cheered. When you see Andy Gregory, you can't help but smile, can you? So everyone will feel happy when they're in there drinking with him. And you can go and give some money to Sean O'Loughlin's new business enterprise, and because we know he's retiring at the end of the year. He needs to top up his earnings after this year. So start doing it now.
When I saw the thing about Sean O'Loughlin's, is it a gym bar or a Prosecco bar that's in there?
Both.
My concern is, where does this sit on the salary cap? Is he renting that space? And if he's renting the space, where does that money go? That's my big concern.
My concern was very different. A bar on wheels, I was thinking that's going to be a real test for Hardacre, isn't it? We'll see just how reformed he is now. Because that...
Oh, here we go.
Other news today as well is it looks like on Instagram Zach Hardacre has got his driving licence back as well, which ties in quite nicely there, Matt. It could be a big test for him. Anything else to add before we conclude and we officially declare the 2020 season open? No, definitely silence. Matt, I don't know whether it's the eyeliner or the lager that's in your glass.
Oh
but
God.
I don't know what's... Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you say, yeah. Do you know we're going to wear that yellow top for Magic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting one. I don't want it and don't play in the same colours because theirs is blue and yellow and all. Obviously, they're probably playing that Superman top again they played last time. Or He-Man top, whatever it was.
Okay.
There you go. I just thought so. There you go.
Where's that been sat? Like waiting to come out.
The things that keep Stu Minnis up at night. I hope they don't play in the same colour kit.
Can't wait to get it.
Has anybody thought about this?
I'm having it like.
Matt,
Well, to be fair, we did watch West Hull and Wigan St Pats both play in predominantly green kits. And then on the next day, we saw West Bowling and the Sherwood Wolfhound both play in predominantly green kits.
it's very true. And as Matt sort of slowly lowers the horns onto his head and the sunglasses onto his eyes as if he wants to do something, I'm going to go to David before we go to Matt, because it looks like he was trying to say something.
No, I'm just saying I think we need to leave the floor open for Matt now. He's obviously revving up for something to kick off the season, so I'm just a bit worried.
What gives you that idea?
What I'm going to do, Matt, is I'm going to take the four of us off the screen. I'm going to leave you on the screen on your own, and then as soon as you finish, I'm going to end the show. Because I feel like whatever you've got for us, if it's a montage, if you're paying tribute to Roman Navarrete, I feel like that's a perfect end to the show. So from the four of us, thank you everybody for joining us, and I'll slowly, one by one, take everybody off the screen, apart from Matt. Over to you, Matt.
Okay, you're going to be disappointed, because as far as I'm concerned now, he's gone. Who is Romain Navarrete? Who cares anymore? And here is the first wrap of the 2020 season. A new season starts and the Wolves are at the door, licking their unmentionables and rolling on the floor. Their fans, they will be yelling that they think this is it, because they've managed to sign Gelling and have had a little sniff of beer. The conference, it was scrapped and the Wolves went for walkies. They used alternative facts. Their chief exec, he's telling porkies. But it shows a real lack of class, and I think you will agree. They may have lots of cash, but they've got no pedigree. They're about to learn some stuff. They'll get shown the Wigan way. They should probably stick to Crufts. That's what Brian Bevan would say. We think we've got Bevan French at the back, George and Jockey in the pack, Lockers pulling all the strings, and Jackson will attack. So we face the Wire Dregs on the season's opening night. They'll have their tail between their legs as their world turns cherry and white. So put your hands in the air, let me hear you say, we're going to beat the Wolves because we play the Wigan way. Put your hands in the air, let me hear you say, we're Navarrete!